bases in Ukraine, but also ballistic missiles. Putin started this war, and Putin could end his war even today if he wanted to. This is why we will continue to increase pressure on Russia's war economy together with our partners and allies. The EU's 19th sanctions package is a key element in ramping up that pressure. The next concrete action point is to work out the modalities regarding credible security guarantees. We have already started this work in the coalition of the willing with the United States. In the peace negotiations, we stand firmly with Ukraine. Only Ukraine can decide its own borders and future, including its EU and NATO path. The immediate priority is to stop the killing and bring the abducted children and prisoners of war home. And in this regard, a special thanks to Canada for your tireless efforts in bringing back those children. We will continue our military assistance to Ukraine's rightful self-defense. Ukraine's defense forces are Europe's strongest. A strong Ukraine in the battlefield is a prerequisite for a just and lasting peace. Today, we have also had fruitful discussions on other current topics, including the Arctic, the Middle East, and geoeconomics. With this, I'm happy to pass on the word to Anita, I guess, if Mikko doesn't have anything to add. Please.
No, thank you, Mr. Valtonen, and yes, that's correct. We will now hear a statement from Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Anita Anand. Minister Anand, the floor is yours.
Bonjour tout le monde, good afternoon. Yava Paiva.
Wow.
Istavat, Ustavat. Dervezet Kahaikilda Canada Zilda. I want to thank you, Elina, Minister Valtonen, and our Finnish hosts for welcoming us, as well as for your current leadership of the N5 presidency. And to all of my foreign minister friends here from the N5, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, thank you so much for the conversation, the discussion, and I look forward to continued partnership. I'm here because of your invitation and because deepening our economic, security, and regional cooperation is a core pillar of Canada's Arctic foreign policy. 70% of Canada's coastline is Arctic facing. 40% of Canada's landmass is Arctic facing. And we will continue to work together with all of you to advance the strategic Arctic and transatlantic partnership that exists between our nations. I will be conveying this through meetings with my counterparts here, obviously, and with President Stubb later today. And I will just say closer collaboration is the name of the game. In today's geostrategic environment, with pressing economic, military, and defense cooperation issues, our collaboration means so much. And in fact, this partnership is more than strategic. It is natural, given our shared northern geographies, as well as our common values, our common interests, and our common priorities. Canada, like the Nordic countries, is focused on results. We're exploring a number of tangible actions that we can take together on key foreign policy and security priorities. And these priorities include Arctic and transatlantic security, Ukraine, NATO, and the rules-based international order. And as we have seen over the past few days, this cooperation is particularly relevant in light of developments over Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. My colleagues and I had a fruitful conversation, as Elena mentioned, about how we are going to work together on a series of issues, including Ukraine, support for Ukraine, security guarantees for Ukraine, and of course, ensuring that we are there in the short and long term for Ukraine in seeking its territorial integrity and its enduring sovereignty. In an increasingly volatile world, in other words, Canada and the Nordic countries are strategic, stable partners. We have long benefited from cooperation, and today we have deepened and will continue to deepen that cooperation. Thank you. Merci. Kiitos.
Kiitos.
Thank you, Minister Anand. And now Denmark's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Elena, for your warm welcome and for hosting us in these beautiful surroundings. I'm really delighted to be here among friends, as you said. And I guess it's right to say that Nordic cooperation is stronger and more important than ever. We share fundamental values with Canada as well, and security interests, and we are close friends. And this is a critical moment in time, and we remain in daily contact. But this meeting has been an important opportunity for us to discuss unfolding events in person and to ensure that we are aligned and to help push developments in the right direction. Speaking with one voice increases our impact, and especially because we have proven that we have been able to bring our cooperation beyond just speaking. We have actually walked the talk. And I am very proud of our collective Nordic efforts to support Ukraine. And if more countries followed the Nordic example, the way we lead, Ukraine would be in a much stronger position. And therefore we also have the, I would say, moral upper hand when we send this very clear message that we first welcome the ongoing diplomatic efforts to end the war, and secondly, that we will continue to support Ukraine. And thirdly, the need for pressure on Russia will remain and will continue. We stand ready to maintain our substantial military and financial support to Ukraine and impose further restrictive measures against Russia, and to support Ukraine's effort to achieve a just and lasting peace with credible security guarantees. And that is perhaps the most important takeaway from the meeting yesterday, that there will now be a transatlantic cooperation about defining the needed security guarantees. We will continue to project Nordic and European solidarity behind Ukraine. And I'm happy that we had the chance these days in Finland to reaffirm those positions among friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Rasmussen. And now Norway's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Espen Barth Eide.
Well, Kiitos, thank you very much to Elina and team for fantastic hospitality. It's a lovely place to meet, and it's been a really good meeting. And as has been said, Nordic cooperation has always been very important for us, very close, but never as much as now, both because we are all in NATO and also because the security surroundings, the situation in our part of the world is more dramatic than it has been for a lifetime. So it's really a good time to meet and to stay together. And we are thrilled to have Anita and have Canada here, also to discuss Arctic issues in addition to Ukraine and other security issues. I want to say that well, a little bit less than a year ago, we Nordics went to Iqaluit in Nunavut in North Canada and visited the Canadian Arctic, and we had some very good conversations there, which we have continued here. And the togetherness and the common perspective, both in interest and values, that we share as Arctic, 6 of the 8 Arctic nations, is very important. So I'm very happy about that. On Ukraine, pressure must continue on Russia. The support must and will continue. And peace is good, but it has to be just and lasting to be a real peace. And these are issues that we coordinate very closely around these days. And concluding, I should also say that particularly yesterday, we also had the chance to discuss the Middle East and the way to end the war, to get more humanitarian aid in, and to think about how not only stopping this war, but also the deeper conflict through a two-state solution, which is a main theme of the upcoming UN General Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Barth Eide. Now we will hear from Iceland's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Þorgerður Katrín Gunnardóttir.
Thank you so much, and it is of course a pleasure to be here in Nuuksio. I think I pronounce it rightly, Nuuksio, with our dear Nordic family, but also our very close friend from Canada. We this collaboration between these countries embodies, from my point of view, the fundamental values these countries stand for, be it democracy, be it freedom, or standing up for human rights, or speaking out loud for respect for international law. That is very important that these voices are heard in these turbulent times. On Ukraine, I agree with everything what my colleagues here are saying. These countries here presented at this meeting, we have been among the strongest supporters of Ukraine. This is also well reflected in our statement, and I recommend that you read that very perfectly and perfect statement. We all want peace and no more, of course, than Ukraine. We also welcome US efforts and strong European cooperation with, of course, Canada and the US and UK. Unity is, of course, the key, but I want also to mention we must be aware not to produce the modern times of Chamberlain, a modern times Chamberlain. So we must be aware our fight is for peace in Ukraine, and it must be just, it must be lasting with powerful security guarantees, and it must not undermine the long-term security, of course, of Europe. We discussed the Arctic, of course. It's extremely important. I underline everything what Espen said, and I think it's important that we discussed more strength on E7 House inside NATO, and that we are turning the focus on NATO a little bit more up to the Arctic and the North Atlantic. We discussed also the last 24 hours the situation in the Middle East, and it's quite clear the Icelandic position is we must see more action, we must do more. Words are not enough, and we must do everything we can to help reverse the course with regards to the horrible situation in Gaza, and also increasingly in West Bank. That is of quite concern, and from my point of view, that diminishes or destroys almost the possibility for and prospects for peace in the foreseeable future. So, like has been also mentioned, the two-state solution conference in New York in July. It was a momentous occasion. And the leaders meeting now in New York upcoming in September hopefully will bring us further forward, so towards the only solution from my point of view that can bring sustainable peace for both nations of Israel and Palestine. And just to conclude, as well, our meeting here in Nuksio has been a firm expression of our commitment to deepen our already strong bonds, and I think this collaboration is so important, more important than ever. So we have to speak out loud, like I said earlier. And in the last, to conclude, dear Elina and dear Finland, thank you for your great hospitality in this wonderful surroundings of Nuksio, and next time I will bring my family with me on a private vacation. It's wonderful to be here.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gunnarsdottir, and now Sweden's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Maria Malmer Stenegard, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you, dear Elina, for inviting us to beautiful Nuksio. It's really great to be back in Finland. It's great to be back with my dear Nordic and Canadian friends in a time of geopolitical instability. And I agree with everything that my friends have said. We are very much like-minded, so maybe what I could add is that the sauna yesterday was really great, and it was a very refreshing swim. But on a more serious note, we find ourselves standing at a crossroads where we need to choose between standing up for international law or go back to a world where might equals right. Our countries, together, we stand firm in protection of international law, and that is why we support Ukraine, and that is why we emphasize that borders cannot be moved with force. And I'm very happy about the statement that was very strong. And that is why in Gaza we put pressure on both Hamas and on Israel to stop the suffering of civilians, and that is why we also stand up for a rules-based trade system. This family is more important than ever, which I think everyone has underscored, and together we have a very strong voice that we also use. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Stenegard. Thank you, ministers. And now we have just a couple of minutes for questions. So if you wish to ask one, please raise your hand and wait for my signal and the microphone, and kindly introduce yourself before making your questions and indicate which minister your question is addressed to. And as a reminder for Finnish media, you will have a chance to ask in Finnish later on, so let's keep this in English. Okay, so let's do 3 questions. Here, here, and there. So.
Reuters News. I would like to ask all the ministers, do your respective countries stand ready to send troops to Ukraine under the leadership of the United States if the security guarantees promised to Ukraine yesterday will materialize? Thank you.
Then next question from here.
Yeah, hello.